These CL-215Ts hold 1,412 gallons of water. They can fill their tanks in roughly 10 to 12 seconds on an open body of water. They're reinforced holes to hit the water at, roughly 100 miles an hour to fill those tanks.
These CL-215Ts, or CL-415 EAFs, are among the fleet of planes fighting fires now in California. These so-called super scoopers are built specifically for aerial firefighting, and they're designed to pound fires over and over with water, replenishing their massive tanks while still in motion.
They can continuously scoop and drop water for roughly 4 to 5 hours on a tank of fuel, and so they can drop a few 100,000 gallons of water a day per scooper, depending on how far the water source is. We can go, hundreds of miles into the backcountry to fight fires where you just can't get to in a matter of minutes.
Montana-based company Bridger Aerospace gave CNN a tour inside one of their firefighting aircrafts currently in Southern California, battling the most destructive wildfires in the area's history.
So when we come inside, people will see it for the first time. They'll often say, oh, there's so much room inside. And what they need to remember is that the airplane was designed around these water tanks. This is all 6 tons of water right here. And this is what the airplane was designed around, and this is exactly how much airplane it takes to move that. Something prominent here is the life raft. You have to remember we are a boat. We're equipped as such with life rafts, jackets, anchors, lines, all the usual boat pieces as well.
Bridger is the largest private owner-operator of scoopers in the world. We have 6 of the 10 here in the U.S. We can and have operated in Canada. They have a lot of provincial fleets there, and there are a lot based in Europe. In the U.S., they never have been. In California specifically, I think with all the publicity, we're getting a lot of interest as people see what they can do, scooping water off the ocean and in kind of tight places.
Company reps say their mission is to provide aerial support to firefighters on the ground, with the hope that the super scoopers become a more accessible tool across the U.S. against an increasing number of wildfires.
We're looking for kind of that unmet need and something that we think is best positioned for that. Having the opportunity to show what we're capable of and put these things to the test has been very critical.
And as multiple fires continue to rage on in the Los Angeles area, the super scoopers have become a welcome sight to residents and firefighters alike.
If this happened in July or August, it would still be catastrophic and unprecedented. We've never seen this in a heavily populated area like LA. To have it happen in January is just absolutely, shocking. A wake-up call, I think, to us, to the whole country, that fire season isn't really a thing anymore. It's year-round, and the devastation is just terrible.
En efecto, y es que aunque sí, bien las temperaturas hasta el momento se han mostrado favorables para que los miles de bomberos sigan sofocando estos incendios, pues la alerta, como tú bien mencionas, sigue latente. Las autoridades le siguen instando a la comunidad a estar siempre listos con un plan de evacuación, porque estamos en época de incendios, y con los vientos que tú bien mencionas se pronostican para este lunes y martes, se podrían desatar quizás otros incendios o incluso estos que están activos podrían resurgir. Y para darte más o menos el último reporte que da a conocer CAL FIRE, la agencia en contra de incendios de California, es que ayer, por ejemplo, hablábamos de que Palisades había sido contenido en un 22%, ya hoy hablamos de un 31%, mientras que Eaton, ayer hablábamos de un 55%, Nacho, ahora ya es un 65%. Es decir, el número de porcentaje de contención va aumentando, y lo que dicen el CAL FIRE es que el porcentaje o el número de hectáreas consumidas aún se mantienen igual de los últimos 3 días, que son más de 9,500 hectáreas en el incendio de Palisades y más de 5,700 por el lado de Eaton. Ahora, la agencia federal ATF, que es la agencia de alcohol, tabaco, armas de fuego y explosivos, dicen que tienen a un grupo especializado, Nacho, desplegados en el incendio Palisades, que están volteando toda piedra posible para encontrar las causas de este siniestro. Ambos incendios aún siguen bajo investigación, así que las autoridades, mientras unas tratan de estar sofocando el incendio, otras siguen investigando las causas de ambos incendios, Nacho.
Bien, Gonzalo, obviamente hablábamos de esta situación de gente que necesita como evacuada volver a entrar a sus hogares, rescatar algunas de sus pertenencias, evitar saqueos, por supuesto. ¿Qué dice de este tema tan fundamental la autoridad local?
Nacho, ayer por la noche, autoridades en ambos incendios, Palisades e Eaton, pues ya estaban dando a conocer que le iban a permitir a algunos evacuados poder ingresar a los sitios donde estaban sus residencias para que rescataran algunas de sus pertenencias, medicamentos, ropa, en fin. El condado de Los Ángeles, la presidenta de la Junta de Supervisores, decía que el condado les iba a proporcionar algunos artículos para que pudieran hacerlo, entre ellos pues guantes, gafas protectoras, palas, para que así de una forma ellos pudieran ayudar a rescatar sus pertenencias. Y también dijo el condado de Los Ángeles que le estarán proporcionando y iban a tener un grupo de consejeros, de psicólogos en las zonas, porque es importante recalcar, Nacho, que cuando hemos visto, me ha tocado ver familias que llegan a sus lugares, se sueltan en llantos, se ponen en una situación, desde luego, muy desconsoladora, y es que no es para menos, ya que sus viviendas, que muchos de ellos tenían por años, quedaron totalmente convertidas en cenizas. Eso mientras también el sheriff del condado de Los Ángeles, Robert Luna, hace hincapié, Nacho, que siguen arrestando a más personas, que siguen ingresando a las zonas afectadas en busca pues, también de robar, y dicen las autoridades que estas personas serán enjuiciadas y traídas ante la justicia, Nacho.
That little blue house with perfect views of the Pacific somehow survived the raging Palisades fire, destroyed days later by a mudslide. Steve Edwards owns the place. He lived around the corner in another home with his new wife. That house, that whole neighborhood, burned to the ground.
Does it feel any different to have a property survive the fire and then get destroyed in the aftermath?
Well, it's just a gut punch because my wife and I thought, oh, well, at least we have this house, we can go live there.
We drove Steve into the evacuation zone to take a look for the first time.
See then that light right there? You want to turn left.
Here's what the little blue house looks like up close.
I'm sorry, Steve.
My kids are sad. No, my wife's sad. It's just, as of Thursday night, we're like, oh, look, it's standing, it's intact. We're going to come live here. Okay, great. New life. Let's do it here. And then you get kicked in the teeth.
The mudslide hit Friday morning. Steve is a composer, scores a lot of movies and TV shows. A favorite piano is still in that crumpled house.
1904 Steinway just sitting right there.
Right against that wall. Yep. And I'll bet it's intact. Those things are built like, Sherman tanks. Now, of course, what I'm thinking is, how do we get that piano out? It's just leaning up against that wall.
Mudslides could become more of a problem around here.
If you have slopes behind your homes, or if you're located on the top of a slope, these slopes have become fragile. There are mud and debris flow hazards that are existing even when it's not raining.
Back in 2018, mudslides killed 23 people just a little further north in Montecito when heavy rain fell just a few weeks after a wildfire had stripped the hillside. Vegetation helps hold hillsides together. A lot of that burned these past 10 days, and we've seen a lot of water flowing down the streets. Pipes burst.
Why the water didn't get shut off, there's going to be a lot of questions about that.
This might never be rebuilt.
They'd have to completely rebuild the hillside, cost millions of dollars, and my poor neighbors.
Steve wants to return to the Palisades one day, but for now, he's playing a borrowed piano in someone else's home. Bridge over troubled water. Makes sense.
Block after block of destruction. It is so striking to see this. A house so clean and unscathed, it looks trucked in and placed gently amid the ashes.
How much of that is luck? How much of that was by design?
Design is an important part of it, but we're very happy there wasn't a 2-story, 5-bedroom house on fire next to us.
The vacant lot on the windward side definitely helped, but the architect who designed this home also credits the tempered glass windows and steel roof, fire-smart landscaping, house walls designed to burn for an hour, and a concrete fence that held back a car fire.
Obviously, it wasn't there because we thought a car was going to be burning next door, but it was a big help in this case. And I think everyone needs to be concerned about the flammability of the fences around their property, the lack of roof vents. We have a fully insulated building envelope without any eaves, so that reduced the number of vulnerable areas.
It's striking how clean the lines are, and that is advantageous when it comes to blowing embers. There's just less to get hung up on, right?
I really think it is. The fancy new houses, they have gable upon gable upon gable, and it just creates more and more areas for fire and embers to collect and do damage.
These design ideas could become a lot more popular among those rebuilding from scratch. But what about replacing the irreplaceable?
This would have been like the front here.
A century ago, German immigrants hand-built this charming Sierra Madre clubhouse to encourage the working class to get into nature.
Yeah, I affirm continued interest with you.
It was no match for the ravages of 21st century nature. So as volunteers vowed to rebuild it by hand, they're also vowing to do it smarter.
There's all kinds of products now that are made out of concrete.
Yeah.
You know, they look like boards, but they don't burn.
Right.
You know, we can make sure that what we have going forward is not going to burn.
Miles de residentes del condado de Los Ángeles fueron obligados a evacuar a toda prisa sus hogares en medio de los destructivos incendios forestales que arrasan la zona, en muchos casos abandonando pertenencias que incluyen documentos que podrían ser indispensables. Los llamados Centros de Recuperación de Desastres, encabezados por la Oficina de Servicios de Emergencia del Gobernador de California y varias entidades estatales y federales, son espacios para proporcionar estos y otros servicios a las víctimas de los incendios.
Bueno, sabemos que muchas personas han perdido todo. Algunos lograron salir de sus casas apenas y hay otros que no pudieron regresar a sus hogares. Sabemos de que no todas las personas tienen documentación y por eso es que estamos aquí en este centro donde les podemos ayudar a todo, desde obtener la licencia de conducir, los documentos que necesita para el hogar, por ejemplo, los seguros de los hogares, seguros de carro, cualquier tipo de ayuda, de apoyo que necesite para encontrar los documentos que ha perdido. Aquí están.
Melara agrega que se han abierto 2 centros en el condado de Los Ángeles, uno en Pasadena y el otro en la Universidad de California en Los Ángeles, que atienden de 9 de la mañana a 8 de la noche y que ofrecen a los damnificados una amplia lista de servicios.
Asistencia financiera, reemplazo de documentos como partidas de nacimiento, licencias de conducir, ayudas para vivienda, servicios de desempleo, préstamos a bajo interés, servicios de seguro, servicios legales, extensiones de impuestos y hasta servicios para veteranos que han sido afectados también. Si usted es una de esas personas indocumentadas que necesitan ayuda, lo más aconsejable es que busque a alguien en su casa que sí tenga documentos y que pueda hacer el proceso.
Según la Oficina de Servicios de Emergencia del Gobernador de California, al acudir a uno de estos centros es conveniente llevar datos como la dirección de la vivienda destruida, información sobre la cobertura del seguro y datos bancarios y de contacto. Los residentes del condado evacuados tendrán que esperar al menos otra semana antes de poder regresar a sus casas para evaluar los daños de sus propiedades, mientras los meteorólogos advierten que se espera otra ronda de vientos de Santa Ana a principios de la próxima semana.